motherfucker. The king is back. Surprise, motherfucker.
Hello
The king
everyone,
is back.
and welcome back to the White Rabbit Trading Channel. Before we jump in, please take a moment to read the disclaimer below, as I am not a financial advisor, and all content here is for educational purposes only. Now, let's dive in. Bitcoin has been making new highs almost every day, and now that we're in price discovery mode, I want to take a closer look at some key charts. We'll start by reviewing the monthly statistics we looked at the beginning of November and then move on to a chart of the cycles I created some time ago. First, let's examine the monthly stats. As we discussed, November tends to close positively 64% of the time, with an average gain of around 20% and a median of 12%. We were watching for a potential low to form in the first week, along with a pullback to establish the monthly wick. This median pullback has historically been about 5%, with an average around 6%. So far, that's played out well, with a pullback into the wick zone on November 4th, marking the low for November. Today, Bitcoin has also hit the median percentage move we anticipated. Now, will Bitcoin reach the average move or make a breakout from here? We can't be sure, of course. All we can do is rely on the data, watch the levels, and try to identify points where we can get involved while managing our risk effectively. Now, let's consider another data point for November, the historical highs. On average, Bitcoin tends to find November highs around the 14th. In weekly uptrends, though, it's slightly later, around 21 days into the month. It's worth noting that in some years, these highs appeared early in the month and even marked the high of the year, like in 2021, when we saw the bull run peak in November. But does this mean Bitcoin will continue moving higher right now? Not necessarily. Bitcoin has reached the November levels we identified at the beginning of the month based on historical data. Whether it keeps rising toward the 21st or ranges here for a week or two, only time will tell. It's a clue, not a certainty. Next, let's look at the levels Bitcoin needs to hold to maintain bullish momentum. The first key levels remain the same, primarily in the area where Bitcoin initially broke out. If the price retraces to these levels, we want to see bullish price action and signs of buying interest. Of course, the market can sometimes appear bearish to trap traders, only to reverse and squeeze them out, as we've seen in recent moves. On the other hand, Bitcoin could just continue pushing upward, forcing out shorts as traders try to short each rally. We can't know for sure, but the important thing is to be prepared to react when the time comes. Bitcoin often returns to test levels, such as certain EMAs, before continuing higher. Whether it does so with a quick pullback or a gradual grind up, we'll keep an eye on these potential scenarios. For now, the key levels remain around the previous all-time high. Zooming in, we see areas where we might look for reactions, setups, and manage our risk if the price retraces to these levels. It's never a guarantee that price will reach these levels or provide a strong setup. Sometimes it just taps and moves on. Depending on your strategy, you may need to wait for clear signals or stay on the sidelines when conditions aren't favorable. These areas I'm watching have multiple confluences and would provide a good risk-to-reward setup, along with a clear invalidation point. To maintain the bullish trend, we don't want to see these levels lost, especially on higher time frames, or start to get tested as resistance. As we enter the new week, I'll observe how the weekly candle opens and which direction price might head. Ideally, we want to see an open, a move down to form a weekly low and wick, but without breaking any bullish structure. If levels hold, we continue with the uptrend. If not, we'll adjust our plan accordingly. Now, let's turn to a chart I shared a while back, which outlines Bitcoin's cycle lows, highs, and the time frames in between. This chart, originally from February 2024, marks the key intervals, from top to top, low to top, and from halving to the next all-time high or the end of the bull run. Historically, Bitcoin has reached a new all-time high approximately 200 days after a halving. This aligns with November. We might expect a high around 540 days post-halving, and based on previous cycles, around 1,000 days from the bear market low to the bear market high. These projections bring us to September and October of 2025. One key insight here is the declining percentage increase in each cycle, which makes sense as Bitcoin's market matures. Based on this trend, the next cycle could see an increase of around 196.94%, bringing Bitcoin to approximately 177K. Looking at this chart, we can see that Bitcoin has been following the historical timing well so far. It stayed within a range for about 200 days before making a new all-time high in November. If history repeats, we might see 300 days of upward movement, or at least sideways consolidation. Interestingly, this is the first time Bitcoin has made an all-time high before halving. This could indicate that some cycles may shift, potentially with different price and timing patterns. Only time will reveal these changes, and we'll add the new data to our statistics for a refined approach in the future. Lastly, you might notice the RSI indicator on this chart. While I haven't used this indicator in a long time, I know it's popular among traders. Historically, Bitcoin enters the bullish control zone on the RSI after each halving, often reaching at least 90% before forming a divergence. This divergence tends to signal a major high, followed by a structure shift on higher time frames. For now, Bitcoin remains in the bullish control zone, and no divergence has formed yet, so we'll keep watching this as well. I hope this analysis was helpful and provided you with some valuable insights. Remember, patience is often a trader's best tool. It can be tempting to jump in, but waiting for the right setups leads to better outcomes. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for future updates. And as always, stay focused, manage your risk, and trade with a plan. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.